Hey, this is Mo Lunsford at Union Grove Lumber Studios.
And this is the Shed Geek. We want to welcome you to today's episode. Welcome back to another episode of the Shed Geek podcast. Excited for today's interview. It's been a little bit of one in the making to some extent. And I'll tell you what, Megan, if you don't care, just maybe like introduce you, who you are, your company, a little bit about what you guys do in the industry.
Okay. Hi, welcome to, I'm happy to be here. My name's Megan. I am a shed dealer in Bonnell, Florida, C&J Storage Solutions. We are on the East Coast of Central Florida. We deal in sheds, metal structures, and gazebos. My family's been in the industry for going on 10 years now. I jumped in going on 6 years ago. I am a mom of two and a wife, and my previous background was in mental health and substance abuse facilities, long-term care, inpatient treatments. And back in 2019, I think, the company belongs to my dad, Joe, and his wife, Kathy, and they were looking for someone to just help make Facebook posts on the different buildings and get that out there. So I started helping just that way. Then they were both working 6 days a week on opposite schedules, never getting much time together. So they asked if I would step in and work on Saturdays on my day off from my other job to kind of give them a break. So I spent the first month working alongside my dad. I wasn't allowed to talk to any customers yet. My job was to listen and watch and read the materials and understand the product. And eventually he trusted me to kind of go out on my own. So I went from 1 day a week to 2 days a week. And then COVID hit and a lot of Florida shut down. I was home fresh with a newborn baby. My son was born in the very beginning of the shutdown of the pandemic. And I was supposed to return to my job at the mental health facility. And I didn't feel comfortable doing that. We were flying in patients from all over the country. It was very uncertain at that time, like what the incubation period was and whatever. So I didn't go back, and I went to 3 days a week here and then 4 days. And now it's just me here. They've retired. They work at home in the background. And I handle the business day to day.
That's awesome. There's so much to unpack there. Just a cool story. What I love about doing podcasts with people, and me and you have talked some, but it's hard to really connect on a real large level of knowing everything about a person. And I love this just almost immediately as you begin to tell this like commercial of like who you are and how you got here. You talk about mental health and substance abuse, and it's one area that we find some commonality, specifically with substance abuse. I had an opportunity to work at a faith-based drug and alcohol rehabilitation center for about 1 year of my life, and it was one of the most rewarding years that I've ever had the chance to work. They say ministry is not about the income, it's about the outcome, and I didn't make a lot of money. But man, I was rich with some of the experiences and stories I got to learn, and it really sets a perspective too for you in life. So, and that's always been a passion of mine. I've always just kind of toyed with the idea of doing a podcast around, recovery and people's stories, because that's what I really love. I really love people's stories. I love
Right.
to hear people's stories. And, even whenever I travel, I look at homes, I talk to people, and I go, wonder what it's like to live there. Wonder what their experience in this world's like. I mean, like it's the way my mind kind of works. And I just had some of the best experiences listening to people tell me their stories. I've had some true heartbreaks. I've had friends, who's passed away from addiction that just could not seem to get out of it. And it just kind of it shifts your perspective and your focus on life. At
Absolutely.
least it did mine. I had a guy tell me one time, Megan, I said, "Hey, what did the program do for you?" Now, this was a faith-based program, but it was really interesting. He said, I said, "What did the program do for you?" And he said, it changed my wants. And I was like, "Wow,
Yeah,
that's deep." He said, "I used to want to, go do drugs and do all these things. And then I found, he said, I found Jesus and that changed my wants. I wanted to then be a family guy. I wanted to like be a productive citizen. I wanted to, it was really literally a rebirthing, if you will, of like who he was
sure.
as a person. So, and he still is clean and sober today. And it's awesome, to see
That's
him
great.
thriving.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
cool. I
there's
didn't know.
definitely I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I didn't know I was going to find that out today. So that interest immediately caught my attention.
Yeah, it's a very rewarding job. It's a heavy job. I took a lot of it home with me. And that was hard for the family aspect of things and stuff like that. But the wins are big wins and the losses are bad losses. So it's kind of like a very much give and take in that industry, and you put your all into it because you're dealing with people's lives. So this, I enjoyed my experience with that. I did that for probably 5, 6 years. And I worked with a lot of great people. I did strictly a facility that was active military women that came and got treatment. I've done men's facilities, female facilities, strictly mental health facilities. So it's a lot. This is definitely a more lighthearted job
Yeah, for
being
sure.
here now. So, but I definitely gained a lot of wisdom and experience working and listening to people's stories and figuring out kind of what makes people tick.
Do you feel like, you know, do you feel like that had kind of allowed you so I want to ask this first. Any previous sales experience
No.
before that? Okay. So so do you feel like that kind of allowed you just your life experience in that way? Because I find that most people don't go into sales. Most people kind of fall into sales. We're starting to see some programs, I feel like, in the education system that kind of offers some um, focus around sales. But
Mhm.
mostly they're usually like marketing degrees or something like that that kind of fall into sales and realize like hey, maybe marketing wasn't my thing, sales was my thing. As I kind of mentioned in a Facebook post yesterday, for a small company, sales and marketing kind of fits the same category in a lot of ways. But as you get bigger, you start to realize that there's a difference in the two. And I think a lot of marketing folks just fall into a sales position. Do you, do you feel like you have a leg up in some ways because y- you know people's stories? You get into their stories because of what you did with mental health and those types of things. I feel like that helped make you a better transition into sales.
Are you a dealer who sells multiple products at your shed lot? Are you tired of sifting through clunky or overcomplicated softwares to simply sell a product? If so, it's time to call Cal. Consumer Aligned Logistics is the affordable, simplified, and scalable solution for your shed, carport, or even RTO company. We are partnered with Idea Room and Shed Pro for configurators and have multiple RTO partners to choose from JMag to Heartland to Shed Geek Rentals and Scott's RTO. And if your partner isn't listed here, just ask. We are happy to add more. Give us a call at 425-359-3279 or visit calcanhelp.com. That's CALCANHELP.com.
I think so. It helps me to connect with people. To me, a big part of my sales is creating the rapport with the customer. I definitely was never a salesperson. When they hired me on here, I said, I'm not a salesperson. Funny story, my parents prior to selling sheds years ago, I mean, they've had a ton of different businesses, including call centers of home diabetic supplies, medical supply equipment, vacation packages, on top of a lot of other things. And I've tried to work for them in those positions before, and I just couldn't do it. I wasn't the person to call people and be like, hey, you know, can I send you diabetic supplies? I couldn't do it. And I just wasn't a salesperson. People told me no. I'm like, no, okay, have a good day, bye. So, but after having the experience listening to people's stories, I'm able to kind of meet people where they are. You know, they come in and I ask about how their day was and what they're looking for, what they're planning on storing in the buildings, what their wants and needs are, and not as much to just try to upsell them or get them to buy that day. I'm very honest with my customers. I don't believe in trying to rush through anything just to make the sale, just to get the paperwork signed. Like, that's not me. And I have a lot of customers that return to me for that. They go, oh, you know, we were shopping around and this other place, they you know, it felt like we were bothering them and they didn't want to give us the information. And, you know, you sat us down and told us everything you knew about the buildings, what this costs, what that looks like. You were very honest about it. And they appreciate that, you know. And if I don't know an answer, I tell them, like, I don't have that answer, but if you give me a little while, I'm happy to research it and find it out for you. And I think that goes a long way with people. I feel like people are used to, in the sales type industry, I mean, you pull up to a car dealership, right? And it's like, they run to you and it's who can get the sale first. And they try to kind of, I can't think of the word for it. They try to surface level everything to make it go as quickly and easy as possible. And that's, if you're not ready today, that's fine. Let me give you the information. I'll give you the information 10 more times. And then whenever you are ready, I'm here for you to answer any more questions you have. And I believe that goes a long way with people. So I don't know if it necessarily gave me a leg up, but I think it helps me further connect with people, make that rapport. A big thing I was taught was customer service comes first. So a big thing I tell my customers is, you know, when you're buying from us, when you're purchasing from C&J Storage Solutions, it's a family type experience. When you call next week to ask a question, it's still going to be me answering the phone. It's just me here every day, all day. So they're not going to have to chase me down or try to find an answer and someone else give them a different answer. They're dealing with me from start to finish, from information to order placement to building being received and delivered. It's me the whole time. So I think that's important, and it's important to build those relationships with the community for sure.
It really streamlines the process too for the consumer to deal with one personality throughout the whole process. I feel like maybe you know, people who come to buy, they buy because they have a need, and then they find someone that can meet the need, and they transfer that enthusiasm, you know, to like, hey, we have your solution, and then. But it's really nice to be able to work with them through the whole process.
Sure.
You said something earlier, and you know, I did a keynote speech recently, and I'll give a shout out to my good friends in Millersburg, Ohio, at Playmore and Striker Hunting Blinds, and I got a chance to speak on both days to their dealer network, and it was I really dug in deep, you know, personally to come up with this content to try and think about. And at the end of the day, you know, and it said it whenever I got there, and their big banner behind the stage said "fun," you know, and you know, I told them, I said, you know, you guys get to sell one of the coolest things on earth. You talked about selling medical supplies, and I brought that up even in my speech. I said, you know, you could be selling medical supplies. You know, how fun is that? Medical
It is.
supplies, like necessary,
Right.
absolutely. Fun?
Definitely not fun.
No. But, you know, they were selling fun because they're selling play sets, right?
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like it's fun, and fun's the easiest thing to sell because people want to have fun. Even people who don't like to have fun when a fun person makes them have fun, right?
Right.
You know, they
They like the
still
idea
enjoy
of
it.
fun.
They do. They might fight it because they're gruff and serious and everything else. But whenever you finally get them to crack a smile, they're just kind of like, yeah, this was good. I needed this, you know. And hunting blinds, you know, how cool was that? Because it might not be fun in the sense of like laughter and sweat, play set, swing sets and rock walls, but it's your extracurricular activities. It's your idea of fun. Maybe as an adult, you go out, you know, you enjoy hunting, and that's fun for you. You know, I don't know if we sell fun selling sheds and gazebos and carports, but you do sell sort of a dream because people have something they want to do. Maybe they want to do a music studio in their shed. So now you're getting to attach yourself to the fun part of their life and dream with them what that's going to
Yeah.
look like.
Hello, shed sellers. Let's take a moment to discuss the shed customer and meeting their expectations. I remember growing up in the neighborhood where a certain percentage of the houses had well manicured lawns and well manicured homes. These were the type of individuals who felt it was important to purchase a well constructed home or vehicle, or maybe equipment to help maintain the quality of the item. As shed manufacturers, we seek to provide a well built quality shed. We want the customer to feel satisfied that their hard earned money has been well spent on a product that will last. At LuxGuard, we believe adding high quality rubber flooring to your line of sheds makes sense to the customer and adds value the customer can appreciate. With each year, sheds are becoming more complex. The customizations we are seeing are virtually endless. LuxGuard not only gives a complimentary aesthetic appearance for their shed, but also protects the floor from spills and keeps cleanup simple. Offer your customer the customer service they seek with LuxGuard. At LuxGuard, we are committed to delivering exceptional customer service and innovative products to help our customers achieve their goals. We strive to meet the evolving needs of the customers. To speak with one of our ready-to-serve customer product specialists, simply call 336-468-4311. To see our product and view an installation video, just visit our website at luxguard.com. LuxGuard, the floor that lasts a lifetime.
And it definitely can be fun. You know, we do very custom buildings. Um, I like to say we offer everything except for plumbing because I don't do plumbing. We're not at the point yet of like tiny homes, residential. But in the years I've done this, I've done art studios, I've done home gyms, I've done home offices were a huge thing, especially at when COVID hit. You know, everyone was home, everyone was locked down, people were trying to work from home, but the kids were also doing school from home, and the husband or wife was still in the other room trying to do their job. So we offer what's called, you know, a premium building, which is fully insulated, electrical, heating and air conditioning, interior walls. We do special doors and windows. So it can be fun for sure. It's fun for me to help the customer kind of design it. What are your wants? What are you wanting in this building? What are you needing? And what's going to make you the most productive? And so for me, the fun is sitting with them, getting to know what they really want, being able to put that on paper, and then watching the building get delivered in and the customer just lighting up because it was everything that they wanted. Now, don't get me wrong, the bread and butter is definitely the smaller storage buildings that house the lawnmower and the garden equipment and the kids' toys or whatever. But we get to do a lot of fun things and a lot of fun designs. I have a lot of cool buildings outside on the lot right now that are waiting to be delivered out, that I sat down with customers over weeks or months to design and come to fruition for them. So I think it's fun for sure.
What's one of the more interesting uses of a building that you've seen so far since you've been
Um,
selling?
I think it's cool when people want to make them into tiny homes. Florida isn't as up to the times with tiny homes as a lot of other states are. So it's possible to be done, but they kind of make you jump through hoops a bit to get there. But I have seen people in certain places take one of my buildings that was mostly finished and do full habitable structures out of them, bathrooms, kitchens, I mean, big decks around them. I've seen hunting cabins. I have a friend here where I live in Palm Coast. Her whole business is working out online, doing videos for other women to work out to. She sells like a subscription. So she bought one of my buildings and she has it fully set up as her home gym. So there's a lot of cool things that I've seen. I don't know if I could pinpoint it off the top of my head of what the coolest was. But it's fun to see how far I can take them with it and then see what they do with it after delivery,
It's
you
really
know?
just dreaming with them, kind of, like initially, would people think of like selling a space for uh, a subscription model, gym membership, if you will, that's kind of, you know, natured around like maybe women empowerment or women's health or something along those lines. It's like, but those things didn't exist before because the internet's changed everything now. So
Sure.
so that's even changed the use of the building, because it's like no one before would have been like, you could turn this into a studio. And it's like, well, how could I do that? Well, who's going to watch? But with the internet being 30 years old now and seeing these things take off more and more, I see people playing music. I see a lot of
Yeah.
music studios, not even just, your traditional gardening, garden shed, or greenhouse or whatever, but some really unique use cases for
Sure.
space. And they want a space that is like sturdy, and they want a space that is secure. And in some cases, they want one that's finished out, even if it's up to the point of plumbing,
Yeah.
and maybe they have to jump through the hoops. But you are right that we can still have fun. It's really getting to know that customer and spending some time in the customer acquisition phase to kind of know, what do you need and how can I best serve you? Like, what else can we do? What can we add to this? I mean, they're putting golf simulators in sheds
Yeah.
now. It's pretty regular, and it's like, man, that's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done a couple hair studios also, women that, or even men that, that's what they do. They're a barber, they're a hairdresser. They don't want to sit in a big shop. So they put, a studio in their yard where they can take their clients one-on-one. I did a guy that lived in Chile for a long time, and he came back over here and he was growing and selling microgreens at farmers markets. So he was growing them in the building and then bringing them to farmers markets and selling them arugula, like, different basil, different greens like that. So that was pretty cool when he sent me pictures of that. Um, One thing I always find funny is I can have customers sit with me and they make every decision on doors, window placements, where they want every single outlet to be placed and the height. Would you believe me when I told you that the hardest decision is paint colors? I'm
Yeah.
serious. At the end of the day, they're like, I just don't know what paint color I want on my building. And they may take an extra week to decide that. I always find that kind of funny.
Well, and it speaks a lot to the mindset of the customer, really, whenever they come in, that like, we get so bogged down being in the industry sometimes with like our knowledge of the paint or the products or different things, that sometimes we forget to almost be childlike in our approach to the
Sure.
customer and why they're there.
Right.
and what they're hoping to accomplish. For us, would we say, man, it shouldn't take a week to pick a paint color, right? Like all of us are like, come on, let's just get this thing done so we can get the sale. But it's like, hey, this is that's that important to that customer. You know what I'm
Sure. It's an
saying?
investment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, especially if you're doing a big finished unit, it's a large investment. Um, and it takes time to make those decisions.
This is James Price of Shed Pro on Faith in Business. We've heard that suffering produces endurance, endurance produces character, character produces hope. One of the greatest examples of this that I've seen is the story of Ernest Shackleton. In 1914, his team and men set out to cross the Antarctica. The ship got stuck in the ice for over 10 months. In complete darkness, there was no daylight. Eventually, the ship was crushed by the pressure of the ice, and it forced the captain and crew to live on the ice for over 5 months. But then the ice began to thaw, and with that, it started to break up, forcing the team again to get into the 3 small lifeboats. From there, they traveled for 5 days and found a small rock island. They couldn't live there, they couldn't survive there, so they decided to send 5 guys in one of the lifeboats. From there, those guys had to travel 800 miles by a lifeboat, 16 days in the most dangerous ocean. They came to another island. They knew on the other side was the port city that they could find rescue. But what stood between them was a mountain that no one had ever crossed, no one had ever climbed before, and they had no real climbing gear. Eventually they made it. They reached the port city, and from there they kept enduring. They found a boat and traveled back 4 months to save the rest of the crew. In total, it took over 2 years, but not one man died. Ernest Shackleton's story shows us a great example of how suffering was producing endurance, and endurance produced character, and that character produced hope in the crew. We're given that opportunity in our businesses, that we produce hope in those around us. This is James Price. Thanks for listening.
And I even love that you say investment because, that changes the dynamic from a big cost to a
Sure.
big investment. You're investing into your time, your future. You're investing into a place to store your things to keep them safe, secure, dry, out of the weather. Just the word investment changes the mindset for the customer. We invest in a lot of things. We invest in a home to be safe and to be secure too, right?
Sure.
It's not just a cost or a negative thing on our life. You said something earlier about being honest and don't want to rush the sale. Customer acquisition time in sales, because we sell a retail product. Um, what's your approach when someone comes in? I remember early on in shed sales, I had a guy come in and had 1 foot in the door and 1 foot out the door, and he had been in the week before. And he's like, hey, went down to your competitor. He's got it for this price. Now, we didn't really have a chance to sit down and apples to apples walk through because we did a price match anyway. So like we would have literally matched whatever they were getting at whatever quality. We would have just had to understand it. Do you feel like it's beneficial for you to take the time in the customer acquisition phase uh, to explain that to them? Because there's a lot of impulse buyers out there that are just like, I want to stop by, get this thing done in about 5 minutes and move on, only for there to be problems later because there's
Right.
questions or things that didn't get asked. What
Sure.
approach do you guys take?
Kind of similar. I definitely, try to compare apples to apples. I will never talk down about another distributor or another manufacturer. I don't believe that's right. In some cases, I know what those companies offer and how their buildings are made. Other times I don't. And I always, I'm always like, sure, please shop around. Just make sure you're comparing what you should be comparing. Is the framing right? In Florida, everything has to be built up to, a very high standard because of hurricanes. So all my buildings are 16 on center, double studs every 4 feet, double 2x4 hurricane top plates. A lot of competition does 24 on center of everything and single top plates. A big thing though is again, being able to say, you're only dealing with me when you come through here. This is a small business. I'm one person. We are not a franchise. It's just us. A lot of the other companies, they have multiple lot locations all over the place, and it's a bigger business model. That may give them a little more leeway to discount and have promotions and sales where I may not have that option. But I also have excellent warranties. I have an amazing repairman on staff. So if you ever were to have an issue with your building, you never have to go through the manufacturer. Where most of the warranties are manufacturer warranties on the siding, on the roofing, it all comes through me. You send me photos, let me know the issue. I send my repairman out immediately, no questions asked, to see what the issue is, how he can fix it. And then I submit through the warranty. Because there's a lot of companies that offer warranties, but unless the building is falling down, it's the structural integrity is infected. They're like, yeah, no, we're not fixing that. We're not coming out. Or sure, we'll get back to you, and then they never get back to you. So my goal is to stick with them through the whole way. So in 3 years, you've had your building and now you have an issue, call me. I'll pull you up. Most of the time I remember them, or I remember their building, and I'm able to get that service taken care of immediately. I have customers that return for multiple buildings, or they've bought sheds and now they want a gazebo. So I think it's important to never talk bad about the competition or another manufacturer, because everyone's just at the end of the day trying to build their business and find success, right? I just want to make sure that my customers are getting what they need. And if that's somewhere else, okay, that's fine. But I can also help you too. So
Yeah, no, that's great. You always have a value proposition of yourself to be able to take care of the customer. And it's really just, a lot of the products are very similar. Maybe you
sure.
can find 10 to 15% difference if you broke it down on some kind of a scale. But what you can't replace is the salesperson. And that's one of the
Sure.
most important parts of the process. The systems and processes and the person themselves and the trust that they can develop, the rapport they can develop with the consumer. I wrote down some notes here where you talked about, customer service first, and being a customer service first company, your sales after the service, which is absolutely imperative. And it's a part of sales that sometimes many of us forget. It's just,
Sure.
it's easy to forget that, like, you get your commission, you're done, you got the sale. I don't act with the same enthusiasm probably, once I've closed the deal. But you should, because the sales cycle, it doesn't stop at the sale. Matter of fact, there's much work to be done once you close, and that's
Yeah.
taking care of the customer, making sure they know when the building's coming, checking up on them afterwards. I'm hearing rumblings of people talking about, starting sort of like well, I'm talking to them, so it's not rumblings, but starting a vlog, in a sense, to some extent, of even like, what do you do after you've had your shed for a year? Or what do you do? What if you want to do shelving? What if you want to do um, um, maintenance or some kind of repair that's not covered under the warranty? Or how do you replace the roof or a door or a window, or add one if you came to the conclusion after you got it there, we need to change this up? And it's like, man, there's a whole host of things that you can be a guide
Sure.
towards, as a salesperson, to be like, hey, and guess what that does? That gives you the power to ask for referrals.
Yeah.
Gives you the chance to, like, trust your customer to the point where they say, hey, trust me, you got to go to Megan, because we just had the best experience. And she's even been checked up with us, every 6 months, even afterwards, to make sure everything was good, or whatever. So service after the sales is a big one. I want to shift gears, and I want to ask you what your thoughts are on, have you always sold like carports, metal structures, and gazebos, or is it, was it sheds first or vice versa?
Are you swimming in leads but struggling to close the deal? It's time to turn those leads into profits with Making Sales Simple, the ultimate sales training program designed specifically for shed sales professionals. At Making Sales Simple, we understand the challenges you face, overwhelmed by inquiries, unsure how to follow up, and missing opportunities that can boost your bottom line. Our proven techniques help you and your team master the art of connecting with customers, building trust, and closing deals like never before. Whether you're new to the industry or a seasoned pro, this training will sharpen your skills, increase your conversions, and drive your business to new heights. Don't let those leads go cold. Invest in your team's success today. Making sales simple, because every lead deserves a closer.
So it's funny, before I started, the story goes is they were selling used cars. They were selling used cars and gazebos. And then a gentleman stopped by their location one day and said, "Hey, have you ever thought about selling sheds?" And they signed up to sell sheds. The cars went out the window. And it started with the gazebos, then started the sheds. The metal structures came after. We did enclosed trailers for a little while, but they take up a lot of space. And where I live here, they're very hit or miss. I wouldn't sell any for weeks, and then I would sell 3 in a week. So once we got rid of the original inventory we didn't sell any more enclosed trailers. But yeah, it's basically always been, since I've been here, the sheds, the metal structures, and the gazebos.
How do you differentiate, or do you differentiate, is it even necessary, your approach to steel structures versus sheds? Do you find them kind of similar? Do you find the customers to be similar whenever they come in looking for something, or do they look for a shed and realize, oh, a gazebo or a steel structure would have been better for this situation, or vice versa?
Yeah, sometimes, and that goes back to finding out the customer's why, right? You've walked into my office, you're here, you need something, but what is it you're looking to do, right? If you're looking for, you live on a property that doesn't have a garage and you need a 2-car garage and a place to do some work, I'm going to direct you towards a steel structure. Let me show you one. You can get a lot more square footage for the price point with the steel structure. What brings the pricing up on that is concrete, if you're placing it on a concrete slab. So I do have concrete companies I recommend to my customers to reach out to get multiple quotes on. If you're looking for, just a place for a lawnmower and some hand tools, let me show you a smaller shed. The steel structures tend to be larger. I think the smallest size I offer is a 12 by 16. And if you're looking for just lawnmowers and bikes, you may not need that size. There's also different city and county restrictions also. Where I live in Palm Coast, they are not an HOA, but they have a lot of HOA type rules and regulations. So they don't allow steel structures. So if you've come in and you live in Palm Coast, I know that the steel structures is absolutely off the table. Let me show you a shed up to this size because that's what they'll allow. Most of the time, I don't think the customers are different between the two. I think it's more just so what their needs are and what their why is. I also am able to offer a lot more finishing options for the sheds than I am a steel structure. I can build you the structure, but you have to, with the steel buildings, you have to send out for electrical, for insulation, for all of that. Where the sheds, I can give them a more finished product if that's what they're looking for.
No, that's great. And have you found that offering those steel structures sometimes will net you a shed customer,
Yeah,
it actually benefits to have them on
yeah.
the property because somebody says, I don't really need that. This shed will work perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done both. And I've had at the same time, I've had customers that have come in and bought steel structures. And then a couple years later, they just need a small utility shed and they come back for a shed. So it definitely works both ways. Um, there are definitely customers that come in with a notion of what they want. And then before they leave, they've completely switched gears. Right. So it's nice to be able to offer more options, more products to be able to fit multiple needs.
Do you think that you guys will add to your line of products as you go? Furniture, play sets, any things of that nature? Is that,
Um,
excuse me, is that in the future?
I'm not sure. They've done play sets in the past. They were doing play sets along with gazebos before they started the sheds. Um, we have started looking into barn dominium type products, pergolas, sunrooms. Um, that was a lot of talk prior to my parents retiring. It hasn't been talked about as much since they have retired. I've looked into some barn dominium type stuff. Um, to be honest, it's hard to kind of bring on a lot more when it's just me here. I can do X amount of research and try to find a right company. It was definitely a lot easier to do some of that stuff when my dad was here and because he makes those connections, the business type connections. So that is definitely something we're looking into. The barn dominium seems to be a big thing around here and throughout most of the United States right now. I don't think we'd go back to play sets. So yeah, I think if we brought in anything, it would probably be either pergolas or barn dominiums.
It's just,
I'd like to eventually be able to offer even a more finished unit, do like
mhm.
be able to offer a full start to finish tiny home. But again, that requires a lot of research to be in with the counties and the city codes and have contractors on hand to do plumbing and kitchens and bathrooms and things like that. So that would be a goal that we'd like to see come true at some point. We'll just have to see how it goes,
Well, yeah, I applaud you for it. It just seems like the shed industry, has so much opportunity that I always say the shed is the common denominator, but there's so many other things from furniture. I mean, this poly furniture is just getting wild, it's
Sure.
everywhere. And I'm thinking to myself, you're in Florida, like I don't know, maybe that's a big hit. It's just, and if we can ever be a resource for you to help, we're more than happy to be a resource in any way that we can. So we're growing the advertising network for people who want to be on there and get in front of people. So yeah, if it's something that you guys offer and you want to get in front of people, it's pretty cost effective in terms of like what we're doing right now. So I'm excited about it. I just think I think it's cool. I still have the same energy, for the shed industry that I had whenever I first got in it, even when starting the podcast 4 years ago. It's went from turning into, fun to a job, but I still have, excuse me, I still have fun at my job, and that's the
Sure.
coolest thing.
Yeah.
Any shout outs, any questions that you have for me? I always like to offer at the end of uh, the podcast to ask people, do you have any questions? Maybe that's something I can answer about podcasting, sheds. Maybe you don't, but just anything that comes to mind and that'll create a little dialogue between us.
Digital Shed Builder is an online shed configurator that strives to provide incredible visual quality, fantastic customer service, and an amazingly low price point, making it a perfect fit for any shed dealer looking to increase their online sales. Digital Shed Builder is simple to use, taking less than 5 minutes to integrate on your site. The Get a Quote feature streamlines your sales process, showing you exactly what your potential customers need. They offer a highly customizable experience that accurately represents your brand and unique shed offerings, working with you directly to set up everything you need in a configurator. With no extra startup cost, no lengthy contracts or commitments, and no hidden fees, Digital Shed Builder has been created with quality, simplicity, and affordability in mind.
Not that I can think of off the top of my head. You guys have been excellent, extremely patient with us and making decisions on marketing and things like that. Y'all built us a beautiful website. I very much enjoy working with you guys. I don't know that I have any specific questions. I'm excited that you asked me to do the podcast with you. I was trying to, my daughter is 11 going on 17. So I was like, hey, I'm going to be on a podcast tomorrow. And she goes, why? Like, I'm not cool enough. Like, I must not be cool enough. And I was like, well, they asked me to be on the podcast. And she's like, why? So I definitely feel cooler at work than I do at home. So I appreciate you asking me to be part of
the
it.
cool mom now. You can go around the house.
I was like, you get to watch me on a podcast. And she's like, no. So that's funny.
Well, that definitely sounds like, like what my kids would probably say. The truth is, so my kids are 20 and 22. They actually do a lot of the editing, most of the editing for these shows. They both work for us. And it's interesting. It's fun because it's a family dynamic, much like what you guys have there. But then it's also interesting because they are notorious for telling me I like to give lectures because I'm their dad. I'm just like sitting down and I'm like, look, I'm like, let me set you up right for the world and do this and do that. And they're just like, oh, this is so boring. Maybe they see a little different side whenever we get to do like the podcast and have fun with people. I try to let my personality shine, but trust me, this is about as good as it gets. I'm a much more introverted person than people actually realize. When I started the podcast, I found it like fascinating to talk to other people and like hear their stories. And it's like I didn't realize that I would get so much attention, and I'm a little embarrassed by it sometimes,
Sure.
But then I put on this, I don't have it today, but I normally have on like this bow tie and suspenders, and I get to play this little character, and it is fun. And we're thankful that you guys decided to, work with us in some capacity. We're always willing to help in areas that we can. There's a lot of other good companies out there that provide a lot of good products and services and things in the industry. So we try to just be fair, like you said. Don't badmouth anyone, and recognize that we can't serve everyone anyway. And so it's awesome. I always tell people, I'm a Christian. I'm a little bit loud about my Christian beliefs. Maybe not as loud as I should be, but I at least want there to be enough evidence to suggest I am Christian. And the one thing I know that I'm taught through that is that it's people first, business second. So, for me, these are brothers and sisters in Christ first, and then they are business friends and foes second. So like I want to see people succeed. I love to see others succeed as well too, because we're built for that. We're built to help each other, and we're super excited to have you guys on as a client. And if you ever need any resources whatsoever, just feel free to reach out. We're more than happy to oblige. Maybe I can make it down there one day, because I'm assuming it's a lot warmer there today than it is here based off your t-shirt and my hoodie. So
yeah, it's a little cooler this morning at 71.
Oh,
Yesterday
how do
we
you
were well
handle it?
into our
How do you
80s.
guys get through? I don't even know how you do
I'll
it.
tell you, I'm sweating. Maybe I was nervous to be on here, but I'm sitting here going, man, did I turn the AC on in here today? It's hot. No, I mean, we're originally from Rhode Island, but my family moved to Florida in 93. I was 7 years old. So I don't know the snow. I don't know the cold. Like, I need sunshine. I need palm trees. I don't go to the beach much, but I need to know that it's just a couple minutes away if I want to stop by.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. No,
um,
well, it's a balmy 27 here in Metropolis
whew,
today.
oh,
So
thank you.
I would take the 71 any
Yes.
day. I keep convincing, dropping hints with my wife, like, we could just always move to Florida. I mean,
Yeah.
everyone else is doing it. We would be the cool kids too and move to Florida, but
That's the dream, right?
that's
You
right.
eventually move to Florida, retire at the beach, play golf. I don't know. I mean, that's the dream. I mean, we're flooded with newcomers right now, but there's
Yeah.
always more space. So either way, it's a nice place to visit. And but it's always the grass is always greener. I would love to see mountains, and I want to see the snow, but I want to come back here because I can't handle the cold.
Uh,
Um, but
I'll live vicariously and through envy of your weather today and every day. You guys are great. It's really, we really appreciate, yourself and Joe connecting and just the conversations. I hope you got hoodies or shirts or something. We sent something down to you. I don't remember what
yeah,
it
I got a
was,
couple
but
shirts. Yeah.
yay. All right, good. Yeah, I just can't say enough about how much we appreciate it. Appreciate you listening. Certainly appreciate you being on the show. I hope you've enjoyed it. And maybe it
Yeah.
wasn't as intimidating, maybe as initially thought. So
No,
a
it went a
lot
lot smoother than I expected.
a lot of people, I think they said that public speaking is like fifth on the list of the fears that most people have. And I always feel like, I have a little bit of room to move with the specifically the salespeople, because I tell them, you're talking and putting yourself out there every day, all day now anyway. So you should feel very comfortable. And if not, you should get out of your skin and start feeling comfortable with being able to speak in public events or in spaces, because listen, you're already doing it. You're already
Yeah.
doing it. And why not try to get better at it? And most people will tell me like, wow, that either went by really fast or it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. And it boils down to this for me, Megan. I believe everyone has a story, and I really like listening to yours here today, and look forward to getting to know and meet you guys further. And I can't wait to swing by when we're in Florida and just say hello.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that would be awesome. Come and see us.
well, that sounds good. Well, we will stay on here, but we'll go ahead and end the podcast. Definitely thank you guys for listening. I'm trying to think of things that I need to drop in here last minute. If you guys aren't on the Shed Sales Professionals page, please go to it and just make sure that you fill out your information. You do not have to put your email in, but it's an option if you want to receive the Shed Geek newsletter, which is basically an email campaign that we have been growing out, where we're also offering blogs. So we want people telling their stories through blogs. We want people who offer products and services in the industry to be able to blog and talk about their service, their product, and why it's beneficial and helpful. We will plug those in. I'll get you in touch with my wife, and she will take care of that. There are sponsorship spots available. Our 10 sponsor spots for the Wednesday show are full, but there are others that are available and becoming available, including our digital ads, which we've lowered all the way down to a whopping $100 a month for those. And people say, why did you do such a big price decrease? And listen, this is why. The reason why is because we have been blessed. The Lord's been good to us through our other opportunities like marketing and rent to own and financing. And there may be more that we're doing here before too long. I can't say too much, but so for that reason, we didn't want to give it away for free, because I think people don't value free. but we wanted to go all the way down as low as we could, and we've settled on that being $100 a month. So if you want to get your product or service in front of the industry, that goes out to over 5,000 people in the industry. And look, we just enjoy being a resource really for the industry, along with the magazines. It's nice to have a place to come see people, hear their stories, and talk about the industry. And if we can help you in some way, feel free to reach out to me. Yeah, I'm trying to get all my little plugs in and things like that. I'm not trying to bore people to death or whatever. But Meagan, it's been fun. Tell Joe we said hello, and we sincerely
Farewell.
thank you guys for listening.
Yep, thank you.
Hey, this is Mo Lunsford in sunny Union Grove, North Carolina, and we want to say thank you to all the guests and listeners.